it's still exhausting to agree where you have to stay on top. And now in this position, reactive play with Disruption, reactive play with Shallow Grave, they really do have to make these early game movements count. And out the game. They don't want it to go too long, I guess. Anyways, the final pickups will be coming through. The bans were the Disruptor and the Darkseer. The final pick will be actually a Lance Morphling. So we are going to see Xiangzai run on the offlane Doom, unless they run offlane Brewmaster, which I have seen too. So either Xiangzai or DDZ will be picking up the Doom, and then the Brewmaster will be played by the other in the mid or offlane roles. But obviously the supports are pretty clear cut here. We're going to be seeing Johnny as well as Mosin playing the Shadow Demon and Dazzle. And then Morphling will be played by Lance. Lance definitely a tidal wave that you do not want to take lightly. He can just completely roll over your lineup if he does get the right amount of early and they don't put the right amount of pressure. So the question is, are Mineski looking at an aggressive tri lane or a defensive one? Obviously Arrow, they'll take the defensive, they'll play reactively, they'll play defensively, and they'll take the mid to late game. But if you look at Mineski's lineup, they seem to be the ones that want to kill early. Wraith King, Mirana, Earthshaker, those three together definitely have a lot of potential against heroes like Shadow Demon and Dazzle to get those kills. I think actually Mineski might look to send those three to the top, send Tidehunter to the safe lane solo, and of course the Invoker to the mid. But we'll have to see. Of course there's merits to, no matter how they decide to play it out, the Tidehunter does like to run and stack up those Ancients whenever possible, so that might be an option for him. But being pulled up the support, I guess that is going to be their course of action. Jesse Vash going to be running on the Tidehunter towards the off lane, I do believe, but we'll be patient about it. We'll see how things settle after the 5-man movement kind of comes to a close. Thank you guys so much for tuning in once again. This is Arrow versus Mineski, the final game of day 1 here in the round robin of the Southeastern Asian TI4 qualifiers. I myself am Blaze. You see in the top right, I'm over at twitter.com/blazecasting, and this is going to be an awesome game of Dota. So I've cast these two teams a ton of times with opportunities in the Dota Talk tournaments that they've been hosting all these teams left and right, and they never disappoint. At the very least, even if they aren't playing at the top of their game and they are losing on the occasion, they always make it fun. They always make it interesting to watch, and that's why this game is going to be one of the best of the entire qualifier. So we'll see. For right now, looking over at the teams, Mineski in the Radiant corner. We'll give our introductions individually. We do see Jay is going to be running on the Invoker. Last time picked up a Wex build into Mjolnir, for crying out loud. We'll see if he picks up the same ideals with a more contested opponent. Looking over at the offlane, it's going to be Jesse Vash running on that Tidehunter, and it is going to be a safe lane tri-lane. Here is going to be Geo on the support Mirana, NMA on the carry Wraith King, and Earthshaker getting the early invis, which actually could make things happen. Do see, however, a Sentry Ward blocking off those Ancients, making it more difficult for Tide to kind of rubber band if he has a bad lane. Anyways, that's enough for Mineski. Looking over in the side of the Dire, it is going to be Arrow Gaming. Starting off, it is the support combo, Johnny on the Shadow Demon, Mosin on the Dazzle, supporting up Lance's Morphling. Mid, we're going to be seeing DDZ play the Brewmaster with a Drunken Haze first build to try to prevent some CS from the Invoker, and we see it at work, 0-0 for Jay, though obviously this creep wave is pretty well stacked up, and he will come back with these next few moments if he doesn't miss. Remember, he only has 50 auto attack damage even with the Blaze attack. Brewmaster has a bit of an edge there. Anyways, looking over at more interesting exchange, actually going to be Xiangzai denying himself to Roshan. I saw on the minimap them pursuing, but I wasn't sure if they were actually able to get that much off on him. They brought him extremely low, and he is forced to go for the deny, rotating now into the jungle. So essentially, they're able to catch him out, start off with a Fissure, block off his path, stun him out, and they threw out an arrow. That was enough to bring him low. So he drops down to a very low HP threshold, but First Blood is still on the table as the Doombringer will be killed by a neutral. Take that, Compendium Predictions. I know those only apply to Europe, but it's a precognitions of what's to come. I don't know. Foreshadowing. Anyways, it is going to be the Xiangzai Doom. Talked about that as an option, and we are going to see it here. So he's going to pick up a Centaur Camp for a little bit of attack speed. Maybe go for some stacks, but otherwise just farm with his right clicks until he can find that Stout Shield. We'll be seeing the EP come out with a full snap onto Brewmaster. He will clap to avoid some of that drain, but still going to take a pretty big hit. Johnny, however, coming in. The Disruption will connect. He is only level 1, though, so not really going to find anything. No Warcraft 3 body block, no Soul Catcher, no kill. Meantime, Haste comes out for Geo. He does have the arrow available, even if he is only level 1. He's going to throw it out. There's a decent chance DDZ will walk into it, but fortunately sees it coming just in time and will be able to ease back on into the lane. So Bottle will come out for him. No direct threat for the time being, and he will have the CS advantage for this laning phase. In the meantime, I have to say that I think that Arrow will be able to take advantage of their jungle a lot more significantly. Of course, we do see now Tidehunter making his rotation here, stacking up the camps and trying to get that Anchor Smash on, but until like level 3, that only does 75 physical damage, so it might be a little bit of slow going. Still, he'll try, he'll do what he can, but the lack of Kraken Shell as well makes him take a hell of a lot more damage. So we do see pressure coming into the tier 1 bottom, zoning out on the Doom. Xiangzai pulled all the way back behind the lane, but he will use the Scorched Earth to keep himself up to snuff. Now Tidehunter, actually, is that serious? He just died. I was telling you how important Kraken Shell is, and the fact that rank 3 Anchor Smash is also a really big deal for jungling, but hell, he just went and died to a neutral. Whether intentionally or not, I obviously can't say without watching his movements, but he goes ahead, sells a Stout Shield, picks up boots, and makes his way back to the Radiant side. In the meantime, things are looking better, at least on the bottom lane. Mineski will take down the bottom tier 1. Invoker trying to do his best in the mid lane, but not really finding that much for himself. I don't understand that at all. He sells his Stout Shield, which I'm absolutely positive he had. I was about to comment on how it interacts with Kraken Shell, but he doesn't have it any longer, so obviously there's no point. Anyways, he's going to be making his way back to maybe check on his Ancient Camp, which will be spawning at the 5-minute mark, and try to get some experience from the now pushing top lane. Put that Basilius on to put some damage in the tower. Try to counteract what damage was done down bottom by Mineski. So right now, not that much activity. Both deaths are neutral creep deaths, so not actually counting in any legitimate fashion. But we will see some damage come in here with the Soul Catcher waveform. They will nuke him down, and a nice heal bomb coming in from the Dazzle sets up Johnny for the first blood. So they're going to pressure this pretty hardcore now. Basilius active. One more waveform pretty soon if they really want it, but he'll probably reserve it and just farm out the creep wave piece by piece. Tidehunter will rotate back up, tries to find that level 4 and 5. Really needs the Ravage to make the pick worthwhile. Xiangzai set back as well, but not as significantly as far as I can tell. He's at least made it to the top half of the experience per minute chart, where Tide is still down in the bottom 4 slots. Do see Jay going for that Quaswex build. The Cold Snap extremely effective at limiting Brewmaster during his spell casts. He has a really hard time casting the Thunderclap, even the Primal Split, during those snaps because the mini stuns keep on interrupting the effects. We'll see the arrow fly, but no way it's landing with that lack of aid. Still, the EMP Tornado is on point. The Cold Snap follows through, and DDZ brings very little here. Now getting hit by the Earthshaker Fisher, but Doom's here as well. Has a Scorched Earth. Looks like he's not really going to contribute much, but at least is there to scare them off. So now DDZ looks for the top rune spawn. 6 minutes, it is going to spawn for him. A haste for DDZ, and he could go ham now. He has the Primal Split. There's going to be his target. Oa has the Fisher, needs to use it perfectly here, but just going to use the Primal Split and dodge things out. Nice stun coming in from the Earth Panda, prevents the Fisher, and they get a very, very good kill. Now looking for more, they get another boulder toss onto the Invoker. He does not have mana for invisibility, and with a couple more right clicks, they could bring him down, but they see more reinforcements. That's 4 people here for Mineski. All of them have rotated, and they might just get the kill. Johnny defensively disrupts, buying time for DDZ to kill off the Invoker, but Johnny getting right click down in turn. DDZ dodging some right clicks, but Mosin and Xiangzai are back in the fray. Not enough damage to actually get the kills, but the damage is already done. Arrow using DDZ's first ultimate to such great effect, setting up a kill on his nemesis, the Invoker, and putting some huge points on the board for them. And 3 for 1 in full total, and Arrow looking really strong now. This was all done without Lance. That's one thing that I want to fully emphasize, is that Lance has just been farming. He contributed to the top kill that was actually first blood for the Shadow Demon, but now he's been farming, and he's able to survive most of Jay's damage. Actually is able to survive through the last bit. The reason Jay backs off there is because if you look at Radiant Vision, he had absolutely no idea what was from that tier 1. So it would be unwise to push his luck any further. In the end, it's going to be Morphling to survive, heal back up at base, and use the Replicant at the last second, taking down 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Back to the lane, back to farming, and back to topping these charts. 43 CS for him, 40 for the Wraith King down on bottom. NMA goes for the Midas Rush build, can turn that into a big number of items. You can go for Blink for initiation, Armlet BKB for the real raw right click, as well as durability against this Brewmaster. And of course there are alternatives. We've seen some of the Western teams adopt a Radiance Blade Mail build, which actually does quite a bit of work against teams that are reliant on the Blink Daggers. But otherwise, just whatever farm he gets, he'll be putting it into very offensive damage. Gonna see Tidehunter instead taking up the mid lane. He's gonna try to get his level 6, but not so fortunate. He's gonna get clapped up, stunned down, and finished off by the Brewmaster. Pretty much just taking every opportunity to give him no quarter, give him no opportunity to finish off his level 6, and with that lack of Ravage, they aren't able to legitimately team fight. Like, Earthshaker's only level 4, not able to do that much for himself. A couple of stuns is all he lends, and the Invoker is not there yet either, at currently level 7. If you look at the level charts, that is below 2, his allied Wraith King and his enemy, the Brewmaster. So Panda looking really strong to pick up his Blink Dagger at an extremely fast pace, and in general just to make a huge impact on this game as a whole.
A barrel of laughs.
Nice D-ward though coming out from Geo. I gotta reward the presence of mind. He either saw it coming down just based on their positioning or something of the sort. Either way, he knows what's up and he's going to be able to take out a very important ward. And pretty much put it spot on. Like, sometimes you're worried about a ward being out here, but he knows exactly where it's at and he will take care of that, no problem at all.
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
NMA farming up that level 11 so they can fight actively with that second life without having to worry about that massive CD. Scaling very well. It reduces 100 seconds of cooldown at each rank of it. A very big deal. So he's going to have that along with maybe something like an armlet and a very early pace. But for right now, it has just that Basilius aura. And it enhanced their push early. Holy crap, look at this stack! They're actually almost getting trapped inside it. There's so many creeps here, and it's all going to go to the Invoker. He is cleaning this up. A couple will go to the Tide as well. They have been stacking that very, very actively, and that's got to be at least a quad, if not a quint stack, which it is actually possible. It is very difficult to do, but 5 stacks of creeps, when you farmed out a couple of them, as Tidehunter did, is actually extremely possible and, of course, extremely efficient. DDZ pops the Invisor, and there's no reason he shouldn't get a kill with this. He's got Blink Dagger, Primal Split cooling down, and he's got an unwary Mirana. She does have Leap, it is rank 2, and I think that would be enough to get away if DDZ jumped her, but you never know with the follow-through. With the Shadow Demon maybe disrupting, that could be very serious business. Anyways, there is the response. Mineski is here. They do have quite a bit of mobility on this Invoker, and they'll try to make things happen here. First on the Invoker, but maybe setting up a big fight. If Arrow TPs to the mid-tier 1 and DDZ gets the initiation he's looking for, this could be huge for Arrow. We do see Mirana's Sacred Arrow flying out, but now DDZ clapping onto 2. Doesn't actually hit Jay, and Mirana leaps away. It could be an overextension here. They are going to be looking for the Fisher block. Oa blocks out those two, they're not going to be able to
Radiant's
pursue
top
on
tower
Geo, and that
is
is the
under
loss
attack.
of the Brewmaster's ultimate for a significant period of time. Still, again, space created, Lance gets to do as he pleases for the moment, but it looks like he's going to have to replicate as soon as he sees trouble, and indeed he does. Back over to the Roche pit. I don't think they have the tools to drop that down just yet, but he has another lane to farm right down here. So just looking over the charts, we do see the Wraith King is topping net worth, but Morphling's neck and neck with him, and they're even going to get some face time with one another right here and now. As far as overall gold advantage, we do see that Arrow has found about a 1,700 gold lead, and more irrelevantly, just about a 600, 700 experience advantage. We do see some movement here on mid. The Arrow will not connect, and honestly, just I'm not too sure. That response was a little bit weird. DDZ was in that general area. I guess he blinked out, but they rotated to try to force a fight, and maybe we'll see here in mid. They now have the Wraith King's Blink Dagger. He's here in the mid lane, but the Blink is on the Courier, and he might fail to maneuver here appropriately. DDZ dodges the Wraithfire Blast. Now the disruption comes through. Soul Catcher and Shadow Poison could easily drop him low, but they don't want to commit him full up against this Tide Invoker. Tornado into Ravage, that's going to be the death of multiple heroes, and they're just trying to bide time. They're playing the turtle game, throwing out the Shadow Poisons even if at rank 1, and they will try to hold this tower as long as possible so that Lance can do his thing. Speaking of, he's almost to his Lincoln but here's the initiation coming through. Holy crap, did they just burst down on Doom? Now popping the Ravage onto Johnny. Shallow Grave will keep him up, though. Is it going to be enough? The EMP, the Urn, he should fall. Gush, just to make sure of it. Jitsi Bash secures the kill. The tier 1 going to drop down subsequently, but in the same time, Lance farming up hard down bottom and forcing Wraith King to TP. Doom, this is the second time Doom has dropped incredibly quickly off camera, but now we do see some damage coming into Tidehunter. He should be falling in just a moment here. Do they have detection, though? The Scorched Earth doing some hits, but it looks like, wrong graph, that they are not carrying much as far as detection goes. The Shadow Demon has Sentry Wards, but Johnny's all the way back at base. And now, the initiation onto DDZ. They pop the Cold Snap, Fissure, and EMP, and there's nothing he can do. Brewmaster takes a spill, and a very costly one at that. He is tied for top 2 placements of high-level heroes on the side of Arrow, along with that Lance misses out on the last hit on a tower. Wraith King finishing that up for himself with a nice little blink right-click. So NMA outguns Lance, and with that movement onto DDZ in the mid, thanks to this Observer Ward, they are able to catch out the Brew. So I really do think that things have turned on their head a little bit. Mineski have a lot more things going for them, and even going to follow through. Oh, a nice defensive disruption at the very last moment before the Arrow connects. Now DDZ taking advantage of their cooldowns on CD, going to get a stun onto ES. Earthshaker will certainly fall, no Echo coming out, but can they pursue onto Geo? The Tornado throws him up in the air. They have the Doom available, but they're just going to stomp him and bring him down. Now coming in Wraith King with that rank 2 ultimate, going to slow everybody down, but they need to drop the EMP quick while they're still slow. Tornado sets it up. Now they come in. Xiangzai out of mana, but he did pop the mech. The right clicks come through, and Wraith King dies for a second time. Jay having to make a retreat, having only 1 spell left available. So they're going to go try to trade, take down that tier 1. The fact is, Arrow did not lose their tier 1 in mid originally, and now taking 1 in advantage for themselves. Looks like Jay wants to try to go for a turnaround here, and with the Tornado he might be able to get a deny, but their attention is more focused down here on bottom, where the Fissure flies out and Lance goes for the last hit once again. This time he gets it, and Invoker does not. So 2 towers going for Arrow, one of them being a tier 2. That is going to substantially help out on the net worth charts. If we look over at them, we do see 8,500 is in favor for the Morphling. Lance finishing up the Lincoln Sphere on the Courier right now. And from there, he pretty much can go for whatever he wants, though Ethereal Blade is almost guaranteed. It's just how almost every single Morphling player likes to run that hero these days. Shotgun, shotgun. And not a lot of natural BKB carriers on the side of Mineski. I will say, however, that they did pick up some great items. The Blink, of course, on Wraith King helps his contribution quite a bit. But the one big problem is that stats of... Oh, DDZ not in a good spot. This Orchid is doing work. He's going to get hit by this EMP, and the last right click will go to the Wraith King. Very, very good rotation there with the Invoker. But anyways, the Orchid is going to do some really good work, and obviously we see it here. He has the Ghost Walk with 6 points in Wex. He's essentially a Clinks as far as his invisible movement speed. Stalking enemy prey in the jungle. He'll be able to catch them off guard, do some quick auto attacks with the Cold Snap active, and of course have that Silence up as well. Silence is really good against Morphling because he can't toggle on his Strength Morph when he is silenced up. As well, of course, he can't use any of his other spells to escape either. It's also really good against Dazzle, taking out the Shallow Grave, which is being maxed out after the wave. And finally, of course, as you saw, the Brewmaster. It's very important to make sure that they delay the Primal Split. Smoke comes out from Mineski. No way for Arrow to see this coming, but they might just be wary of those off the map. Still, the Blink available for Wraith King. Can DDZ blink out of the Wraithfire Blast rapidly enough? We'll have to see. Not going to go for it. Knows what happened last time. Still, 3 clustered up in a very good defensive position. It's just going to be if Lance rotates. He has a TP scroll in full mana. Now we see the EMP Tornado not really going to hit anybody. And the tier 1 is fortified. Try to finish it off. DDZ jumping in. Great stomp coming through, but he's just going to throw out the boulder onto Earthshaker. The Ravage came across. Dazzle's already gone. And Johnny's taking some pretty big hits. The defensive disruption keeps him up. They wait for him across to bring down Earthshaker. And now looks for one more. We do see the Duke onto the Wraith King. They will try to bring him down rapidly, but Johnny's taking some big hits as well. It will be NMA to fall first, but Johnny with him. And the Reincarnate will bring them right back up. EMP, no, not available, but Tornado is actually stacked with the Wraithfire Blast, but Shanghai still takes a big hit, and they will be able to bring him down. Lance, waveform away, should be able to escape, but you never know. With the spell kit of this Invoker and the Blink available on the Wraith King, they might look to dive, though wary of DDZ. It looks like they are just going to retreat from there. The kill board evens up, 8 for 8. And as we see, the experience graph is drawing even now between these two teams. If I have to talk about a team that does better in the mid to late game, I think that Arrow definitely have it. I mean, yes, the Mirana can semi-carry, but she's a support hero with this Urn of Shadows build. So Geo not really going to be right-clicking anybody down or finding any really big items anytime soon. The Wraith King, a great carry in of himself, but can only do so much. Lance gets the Strength Morph off before the Silence connects, and indeed he even gets Force-Staffed away. No trouble at all. Still, exhausting a lot of mana if he wants to bring himself back up to a high Agi build. For right now, he's actually more strength than agility. And might just need to TP home with this low mana pool. Like right now, he's tanky, but he hits... I don't know, he hits okay, because he does have that Lincolns, does have the Agi treads, but he's not as offensive as he'd like to be. Just sentries will come out for Johnny. Mosin does have Smoke and Deceit at the ready though, and they're all grouped up. So 4 or 5 man smoke perhaps. First clearing out the jungle to maintain efficiency. Invoker, like I said, going for that Clinks play. We'll see if he can get it here onto Lance. He finds him out solo. They see that Ghost Walk debuff, but the Sentry Wards aren't in the right position. And it looks like Jay will be... Oh, Disruption! Yeah, they get the Moaning Purge. They get the Clap, and they will get the Doom. Invoker going down, but Arrow onto DDZ. Geo trying to retreat, instead gets disrupted. Now we see some damage coming in from the Wraith King onto the Brewmaster, but he just splits it, stuns it, and NMA will be going down without his Reincarnate off cooldown. A huge, huge win for Arrow. In fact, did they buy back? Invoker is back! He bought, and then Mirana is down! Does not have lead for 3 seconds, gets stunned out once more. They keep trying to fight this Panda, and the Panda's gonna win. Brewmaster at level 11 is just too strong for their team to deal with without BKBs, and as you can see, they're nowhere close. So we do see Lance now, despite his high strength pool, will still do some good right-click damage to this tower, and they will be finding the kill on it in just a moment. Lance goes ahead, dodges the EMP with Wave, and the last right clicks come through. Tier 2 is gone, and really, what is Mineski gonna do? They're gonna look for the Ravage. They do hit onto 2 here, but Lance is still too tanky, and he just what is the word? Replicates. That's where I was messing up on the syllable. Replicates back over to the mid lane to farm just a little bit more before finally heading back to base. Like, please, eventually, you're running too much strength to really make your presence on the map very relevant. So after a couple of pre-plays, I hope he does return home. But what a run it's been. I mean, he's already got half of his Eagle Song, gonna be moving towards the E-Blade at such a nice pace. So yeah, losing out on the Wraith King again. This Wraith King has died twice now in 22 minutes, and that's legitimate deaths, not just the reincarnates. He went for this build, and I was talking about it a little bit before I got interrupted by a team fight, which of course this game is going to have a ton of. Buckle up, boys. But we do have a Blink Midas build on the Wraith King. These are kind of do-nothing items. These are items that secure your mid to late game. These are items that put you in a position to make awesome things happen with cool stuns and such. But it doesn't really change the fact. Oh, Tornado, EMP. Man, I'll never get this thought completed, but the Doom will come out. Invoker gonna be absolutely obliterated with Doom picking up the last hit, and that secures their Roche. Without an Invoker to worry about for 50 seconds because he just bobbed back, they are just going to be able to easily finish this Roche, or take a tier 2, whatever they please. They are, however, being pressured on the top lane by Wraith King, who has, at this point, completed a Maelstrom, foregoing a BKB. Yeah, the Wraith King, to this point, hasn't really had any major items for offensive potential. This is a very offensive hero. He has a free second life, for crying out loud. He wants to really send those right clicks home, but right now, he hasn't really made that big of a contribution. Now we see Ty jumping in, Jesse Vash going for the big play, but instead, just getting right click down. It looks like Aegis will be on the deck still. And Brew will be the one to pick it up. So DDZ gets it, the Dire get the last hit, and Tidehunter just throws his life away. It was kind of a big play opportunity, but the best case scenario is that Tide either takes the last hit or the Aegis. Irresponsible to think that he'd possibly get both, and at the same time, there's no way for him to escape once he goes in. He knew that. So, a costly death, but I wouldn't say nearly as costly as that Invoker's. Wraith King still doesn't have enough items to really call himself a carry. He's still at a position of 10k, which isn't bad, but compared to what he's up against, it's just not enough. There's the mechanism on Xiangzai. There is a Dazzle healing away without having to be worried about being suppressed by a hero like Ancient Apparition. And in general, they just have too much going for them right now on the side of Arrow Gaming. Now the Brewmaster picks up the Ags, and oh boy, do we have a treat coming in for us. DDZ is such an amazing player. Like, I most of the time when I look at Arrow, I think of how awesome Lance is as a carry, one of the best in the Eastern Hemisphere, to be honest with you, because he can just always top these charts and always farm under extreme adversity. I look to the supports and I see some big play potential, but it's not the most outstanding. Still really good though. But then you look at DDZ. At first, I just thought he was good. Now, almost amazingly great. Like, he is this player that sets up so many opportunities for his team, whether playing on Invoker or Tinker or in this case Brewmaster. He just makes the most of his opportunities on these heroes, and it's just a sight to see. So much fun to spectate, and a force to be reckoned with against his opposition. We will see Moonlight Shadow popped off by Mirana. They'll look to engage, but with only a couple buybacks at their back, we'll see the initiation come through, the Ravage onto 2, a Force Staff away to avoid the first hit, but Land's taking a lot of damage here, and he's not the one with the Aegis. They gave it to Brewmaster, so they just focused on Morphling, but he gets graved, he morphs up, and Jay falls to the Doom. Now the Brewmaster, with all these spells, he's just casting them non-stop. Everything's on cooldown, he's using them perfectly, and the stun will kill off Jesse Fast with this clap. Big plays from the split, and he doesn't even get hit by the arrow. He gets eaten by the Air Spirit right before they return back together, and he can just go ahead and blink away. Now finishing out the Wraith King, that's his second death. Reincarnate for one, immediate death for the other. And that just puts Arrow in such a commanding position of this game, if they weren't already. I mean, you look at the graph, and it was already looking kind of bad, but now it is moving towards insurmountable as DDZ just jumps in and claps away. He is so fearless right now with Aegis, with the Aghanim Scepter, and a 70-second cooldown on his ultimate. There's very little that can give this guy the Quakes. He is, speaking of Quakes, Earthshaker, he popped off the Echo Slam, but it didn't make enough of an impact there, and oh my gosh, did Lance just hammer it home onto the Mirana. Great Ethereal Blade shotgun combo. And at this point, there's they don't have any way to hold these racks. Like, DDZ, they might be able to kill him and pop the Aegis, but he'll be right back up with full HP, mana, and almost that ulti CD. So range racks are falling, Lance right-clicking away at 223 a pop. And then, of course, the melee rack dropping down. But actually some good movement here. The Orchid, Lance is just obliterated. You might be able to brag about his right-click damage, but where he lacks is in his HP. They aren't able to avoid the tornado. Johnny and Mosin gonna get cleaned up. A TP though from Mosin. Can they stop it here? They will not be able to. Johnny's gonna be the casualty of war alongside his carry, but they will be able to escape with the rest, leaving the racks, melee racks at full HP and the range racks depleted. But yeah, the one thing is that this Orchid does, like I said, prevent morph. So if he's running too aggressive in this agility, if he goes full agi, he better be getting these kills because it'll cost him in terms of durability, and he's so easy to focus down. So I am kind of surprised that DDZ picked up the Aegis. This is the only thing I wasn't sure about. Both of them were, you know, eyeing it. They were just towing that line, getting ready to. But there was obviously some conversation back and forth about who should actually acquire it. And I do believe it was the Morphling. Being able to bring him back up with the full agi active, I think is a pretty big deal. But in this case here, he'll just go ahead, play a little more defensive, run a 31 to 87 for strength to agi ratio, and that should be sufficient to at least survive through the silence. Ravage, Echo, all CDs other than the Reincarnate are back up and available for Mineski, and now they're going to be looking for a fight. Have the full smoke up, have the Moonlight Shadow now active, and DDZ is wide open, but they're going to look for the flank. Going in instead onto Johnny. The Force Staff isn't enough to get him away. He will drop down to Earthshaker, and now looking for Mosin. He doesn't get the chance to Shallow Grave with the amount of burst damage and aftershocks coming through against him, but look at these pandas. They break out, they throw out the stunts, and they are just going to start going ham, but Wraith King, not the best target. He'll pop and just slow them down, wasting a lot of this Brewmaster split. Now we see Tidehunter trying to TP away, not going to be successful, so he will fall. The Earthshaker did get out, and they finish off one more. They did. They kill immediately as soon as he respawned, killed off the Wraith King, and why not? They have the clap, they have the stone form, and now they have the nukes. Lance needs a couple more right clicks to finish off Marana, but he isn't in range just yet. There's the blink clap to finish it off, and even going in under the tier 3s to finish off the Earthshaker as well, as the Aegis gets reclaimed and the regen rune gets dispelled. But my goodness, what a fight from Arrow. I thought it was a little too scattered for them to feel confident about it, but they still were able to turn it around pretty well. I think they did get a buyback though. Yeah, the Shadow Demon came back into the fray after he got nuked so hard from everyone. But they turned it back around. DDZ. The big thing here was Wraith King wasn't able to blink out of his Reincarnate. If he blinked, I actually think that there's not really that much that Brew and Morph can do to finish him off. But they got the damage on him, I guess, from the Fire Remnant's Immolation, the Fire Spirit's Immolation, and that cancels the blink. Once you do that, then it's an easy kill, an easy cleanup, and now they go in for the base. They've taken the bottom racks, now looking for the mid. Nice defensive disruption, keeps Xiangzai up, but he has to pop the BKB just to get out of dodge. Healing up with the Scorched Earth now. Looking to finish off these melee racks. If they get this pretty much hammers the nail in the coffin home, but they don't finish it yet. And as such, Mineski's hopes are still alive. Looking for the blink initiation, but there's no Ravage, and my goodness, is that Invoker just evaporate. Now Strength Morphing to hold. He runs out of mana, but he still has enough to retreat. And this Fissure actually screws over the side of Mineski. Arrow is able to maneuver over this block, and Mineski are not. So an unfortunate Fissure, but it doesn't change anything about this unfortunate game for them. Arrow, they keep their win streak alive. They have not dropped a single game this entire day for the Southeastern Asian International 4 qualifiers, and they did not drop one here in this last game. 6-0 is their final win rate for today.